Hi everyone. Okay, this video is going to help us really set up that experiment that we've been working on. In order to do that, we want to be thinking about our idea, our hypothesis, and remembering all those things that we've talked about so far. And when we are really setting up the experiment, we need to sort of make that prediction. What do we expect? In our experiment that we keep talking about here, the idea that when the bell rings for announcements and our announcers get on to do the announcements in the morning, people will stand up when that little bell or ding happens that turns on the announcements. So based on that, I really felt that our we were going to be really successful in the fact that when that little ding happened, people would stand up because they were just going to automatically expect that the announcers were going to come on and start with the pledge. And if you remember, that's really what our hypothesis stated. So when the bell begins and no one speaks, people are going to stand anyway because they're going to expect them to speak. So my prediction is that when that bell goes off, people stand. And we did create some change in our independent variable to prove whether or not it was the bell or our announcer speaking. So now we need to set up our experimental design, and going into those variables, here they are. Once we do a prediction, according to our little video, we want to test our control and variable. And so what I wrote down here for you is our independent variables and our dependent variables. This is what we expect them to do. Students are going to stand when the bell dings. Our independent variable, we have two options. We have when the announcers, they're going to ring the bell and then say good morning Kiel High, and then they were going to wait 30 seconds before they began I pledge allegiance. And we had them make a change. They had taken out please stand for the pledge because we did not want that to be a confounding variable. And our testing variable is going to be when the announcers ring the bell and then just wait 30 seconds. And then they were going to say, please stand for the pledge. So there's two different things we have going on here. Both, though, we're expecting when that bell goes off that people are going to stand. That's our prediction. So now, a lot of you are thinking, well, that's not what we do when we do psych experiments, Mrs. Tebow. You're absolutely right. We're ready with what we're going to test, but now we're going to create an experimental design. And an experimental design is 7 to 10 steps. And you want to be thinking about how long this is going to be. They're roughly 2 to 4 minutes, and I'm going to tell you why. We want to get, in our 5 days, 80 to 100 test subjects of whatever age range you're looking for in your representative sample. For most of you, it's going to be high schoolers, but you're welcome to go down to other schools. You're welcome to test at a track meet. You're welcome to do whatever you want for your representative sample. I want you to think, we test over about 5 days. It's a week. And I've added up all that time. It's approximately 60 minutes a day because of setup and takedown and things like that. And then there's a Wednesday in there, and so I gave that about 45 minutes. Either way, we're approximately at 4 hours of time. And if I do my math right, that would be about, let's say, 240 minutes or so. And if you divide that by 100 people, you're looking at about 2 to 4 minutes total so that you can get the maximum number of test subjects in those 5 days. So you all have been through experiments that are very long, probably, those of you that have done these, and they're much longer than 2 to 4 minutes. And I stress to try to keep it to that 2 to 4 minute minimum so that you can have as many test subjects as you need in order to really prove your hypothesis. And then also in our experimental design, we will include our throw-offs. And so I want to share with you kind of what that looks like. If I'm going to create my experimental design, I'm going to put it right here. And we're just going to call it Bell Experimental Design. Somewhere I need to add in my independent and dependent variables. And that's what we decided to do. But if I was going to be testing this the way you're going to be testing it, I may change some different things around. For example, some of you, when people come in for an experimental design, you might greet them. You might do, some people will do a small survey. Maybe it's, how are you feeling? How old are you? Should capitalize. You know, different things like that. Oops. Some of you in the next part of your experimental design will do a throw-off. And a throw-off is we test all of these students and you know they're going to talk. The idea is you should not know that they should not know what you are testing, because that will change your set. And set is very important. You do not want somebody to come and sit down at your table or wherever you choose to be working and have an idea of how they're going to answer something. We try to keep them sort of oblivious to what we're actually testing for, so that they just kind of go with it and they don't stress out about what you're testing, so that you get a pretty accurate result. So sometimes, and you guys, many of you know different throw-offs, and I always check and I always say, like, remember some of your favorite experiments ever, and those are great throw-offs, the different parts that you remember. Somebody last term just had people switch seats, and so that could be a throw-off. And then maybe I'm going to, now I would start my independent variable. In this case of the bell, we kept the set very, very open because people didn't know they were being tested. So in our case, we really didn't have to go through all these different designs. However, if we would have kept messing with the bells every morning, we would have had to somehow do something because people were catching on. But then I might throw in my independent variable. Then I might watch for my dependent variable, because it might happen right away. And then I might include another throw-off, whatever that might be. And sometimes, and I stress this, take your data at different times so that people don't know when the important times are and when the important times aren't. And so maybe during this throw-off, I collect my data from my variable, however that might work. Now let's see, how many steps do I have here? I don't have them in bullets, so let me look here. I am at 6, and we want to have about 7 things, so maybe I just do an end greeting, and that is how my experimental design is going to work. I want to share with you one more thing here. Let's look at the grading and how this is going to look for you. Let me zoom that in. Setup is done correctly. Done correctly means you meet these components, right? Oops. The components that we spoke about earlier, and I'll show those to you real quick. One thing I do ask you to do is pay attention to consistency. Some people actually script out exactly what they're going to say, because in some situations it's going to matter. If you can say, I pay attention, if you say the same things in the same way over and over, I know it may get boring, but you are going to have a more accurate test than if you do not. All right? Now, experimental design was well thought out and executed with few mistakes. This is just going to kind of depend on observations of you throughout the week. If I can see some major changes taking place, if you make some serious changes to how your experimental design runs, like you come up to me and say it's not working, you know, different things like that, I appreciate that. Few mistakes, you know, these are pretty minor mistakes, not a big deal. Um, as long as you are thinking it out and you are evaluating throughout the whole process, you're definitely going to be in the proficient range. If you're just doing things different day after day, no consistency, things like that, you're probably going to be in the more basic range. All right. Um, if I see you're consistent throughout, you've talked on different evaluative things and you're really trying to make this clear, you're going to be more in the advanced range. So that's about it with your experimental design. Thanks so much. Bye. Bye.